It's been more than a century since we first started our scientific investigation of the Scythians, in the late 19th century. The first ever horse lords who dominated from what is now modern-day Ukraine and Russia in the west, to Central Asia and the northern borders of China in the east. They earned for themselves a reputation of fierce war tribes, who were feared by almost all of their neighboring nation, leaving behind a legacy of gold-embroidered clothing, intricate jewelry, and mysterious burial mounds, and yet their origin is still a mystery. The origin of the Scythians is a tantalizing puzzle that has captivated historians and archaeologists for centuries. Despite centuries of research and investigation, the true origins of the Scythians continue to elude scholars, with different theories proposing Indo-European, Iranian, or hybrid roots. As we delve deeper into the complex history of the ancient world, the mystery of the Scythians continues to captivate and intrigue us, challenging our understanding of the ancient world. But before we move on to understanding why their origin is still a mystery, we first need to consider the complexities of their world. The Scythians lived in a time and place where different cultures, languages, and traditions were constantly in flux, and where the borders between nations and people were often blurred. And this adds up as one more factor leading to the difficulty in tracing back their origin. So the number one reason is lack of written records. The presence of written records by the Scythians themselves would have solved the question of their origin to the most extent. But unfortunately, the Scythians never read or write, so we don't have any written accounts by them. The only written accounts that we have about the Scythians are from the Greeks and the Romans. And they didn't write extensively about the origin of Scythians. Herodotus in his book Histories writes, "The Scythians say that they are the offspring of Hercules, who, after he had finished his course, came to their country, and took to wife a daughter of one of the Scythian kings, by whom he had 3 sons. The Scythians, therefore, are the descendants of these, and are a mixed race, half Greek and half barbarian." 400 years later, a Greek geographer and historian named Strabo writes, "The Scythians are said to have come from the region near the Caspian Sea and to have been a mixed people, part Greek and part barbarian. They have a tradition that they are descended from Heracles and that their first king was Targetos, the son of Zeus and a daughter of the Boreas the Ness River." It is worth noting that these descriptions are not the actual origin but mere legends regarding the Scythians that were prevalent during their time. But for the few other sources that did mention their origin, we don't blindly accept their story, as they may have their own biases and prejudices and their sources of information may not have been reliable, as we very well know that their sources of information were not first-hand. The next reason is scattered archaeological sites. Due to their nomadic lifestyle, there are almost no permanent settlements, or any traditional cities that they build, except for a few fortified trading outposts and commercial centers in some locations, where they maintain trade links with the ancient Greeks. The only other structures that indicate their presence in certain areas are kurgans. Kurgans were their burial mounds, which have been found throughout their areas of dominance. They are typically composed of earth and stone and can range in size from a few meters to several hundred meters in diameter. The kurgans were used to bury their leaders, warriors, and notable members of society, and often contained rich offerings and grave goods, such as weapons, jewelry, and personal belongings. However, these burial mounds are scattered throughout the vast areas, making it challenging to study them in a comprehensive and systematic manner. They are, however, the main source of information regarding the Scythians, and they have proved to be of great importance for the archaeological research on Scythians. The next on the list is limited genetic evidence. The limited amount of DNA data available from the Scythians and their ancestors makes it difficult to reconstruct a comprehensive picture of the Scythians' origins, migration patterns, and population structure. The harsh conditions in the steppes of Eastern Europe and Central Asia, where the Scythians lived, make it challenging to recover well-preserved DNA from their remains. And many of the kurgans that have been excavated have been disturbed, which has destroyed and damaged the DNA samples. Another on the list of factors is different interpretations of the available evidence. The material culture found in kurgans and settlements can be interpreted in different ways, depending on the researcher's cultural background, theoretical perspectives, and interpretive biases. For example, some researchers interpret the material culture found in kurgans as evidence of the influence of nomadic cultures, while others interpret it as evidence of cultural diffusion and intermarriage with neighboring sedentary cultures. Various interpretation of the same available evidence is actually a very common occurrence. Archaeologists would often use the same data and come up with completely different conclusions. The diversity of interpretations and perspectives is seen as a strength in the field of archaeology, as it leads to new insights and discoveries. But it can also lead to confusion among the general public, or it can undermine the credibility of the discipline as a whole. Overall, the different interpretations of the available evidence, combined with other limitations and factors we talked about earlier, such as lack of written records, scattered archaeological sites, and limited genetic evidence, have contributed to the mystery surrounding the origin of the Scythians. The most widely accepted theory is that the Scythians originated in Central Asia and migrated to the Pontic-Caspian steppe in the early 1st millennium BC, before eventually settling in the Eurasian steppe. This theory is based on evidence from the Scythian language, which appears to have roots in Central Asian languages, as well as on their material culture and burial practices, which show similarities to those of other nomadic peoples in Central Asia. But this theory has its own weaknesses, and this evidence is open to different interpretations, and hence this is not the absolute truth. However, the mystery of the origin of a race or group of people is not a rare occurrence in human history. In fact, it's quite common. Many ancient civilizations and peoples have lost their historical records over time, making it difficult to trace their origin with certainty. Let's take for example the Roma people, Basques, Melanesians, Berbers, and Jewish people. These are very well-known people groups, and yet their origin is uncertain like that of the Scythians. There is, however, ongoing archaeological research on the Scythians going on, and the advances in techniques such as DNA analysis and isotopic tracing are allowing researchers to shed new light on the origins and migrations of the Scythians. These studies are contributing to a more nuanced understanding of this fascinating ancient culture. With continued research and exploration, we can expect even more exciting advances in our understanding of the origin of Scythians in the future. So, that's it for today. I hope you've enjoyed the video. If you like this video, please don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe to our channel. And if you have made it up to this point, thanks for watching.